Hey there, it's Dior, and in this video, I'm mostly just going to be talking about the overall market with Parallel and what I might recommend new buyers to be looking out for, um, and what I would personally recommend people to buy, and what I think the general community is normally telling people to buy. And I'll just essentially talk about kind of trends that have happened since certain drops and stuff, and it kind of explain why certain things might be uh, priced very weirdly or like very differently than what you might expect, and just to have some transparency, I guess. I'll just show you my own collection, just so you know I'm not trying to like pump my own cards or whatever. Um, there you go. So this is what I own. Um, Total is about 54 ETH currently. So let's kind of get into it here. So just kind of looking at the general floor right now, it's about 0.11, and literally probably like 2 days ago, the floor was something like 0.06, 0.07. So like things have been moving a lot. Like once PD1 happened, the starting floor was around 0.02 for mostly just the standard cards here. Like the standard rares were about zero point zero 0.02. But like as you can see, they've climbed a lot. Like they're almost up. They're about like 8 to 10 times what they were in the beginning. Some even more with like Pocket Dimension and Reality Manipulator, and many of the legendaries have gone up by quite a lot as well. And as you can see, we have a bunch of floor SEs. So the general consensus is really most people would recommend you kind of look to buy SEs more, which are again the special editions. That's going to be denoted by this coloring of the QR code, this kind of rainbow look, as they have a much smaller edition size for their own rarity. And there's no really like easy way to tell what rarity the SE is, except for looking at its edition size, in which for commons it's 1500, for uncommons it's 1000, for rares it's 500, for legendaries it's 250. So there's a bunch of current like floor SEs which I personally think are somewhat undervalued when you compare it to all these just standard cards, which are literally the same price as the SEs. And as you move on, like I'm pretty sure, actually I think this is a 1500, but like right here, Reliant Gamma is a edition 1000. This is an uncommon SE, and it's only going for 0.37 compared to like the overall market of uncommons, which is normally quite a bit higher, as you can see, like Change of Heart and Life Well, and the Warden here 0.7, Void Crystal 0.8, Repurposed Hardware 0.8, 0.9. And you might be wondering kind of why you might be seeing these kind of discrepancies in price. So essentially, currently to own a full set of PD1, you'll need to have both the day, like this, and night version of each of the cards. And the only difference is just their art, and you'll be able to see, many people have asked about this here. Just give me a moment. If you see, there's 500 total here on this Repurposed Hardware SE, even though the edition size, if I zoom in here, is 1000. And the reason for this is that there's 500 of the day version and also 500 of the night. So essentially what people have been thinking is, okay, well, since it's like that, then that means like the day and night versions of cards are like 2 times as rare as ones that don't have day and night, which currently you could say that, but personally, once the game really moves forward and cards actually have like effects and stuff, I'm pretty sure things will level out a little bit more, but that's at least a year away. So for now, because many people want to be completing sets, the prices of day and nights are usually just a bit higher than the rest of their non-day and night counterparts. And some people denote that by D and N, by the way, if you ever see that. But overall, the market's seen a lot of movement recently with a lot of the standard cards have moved up just the past day or two, whereas the rare SEs and the legendary SEs saw big movement 2 days ago, just because honestly I couldn't even tell you why. It's just a couple whales kind of joined in, including Paradigm, who joined in and brought like a quick boost of hype, and so a lot of the rare SEs got bought out, and I can kind of show you that down here. One moment. But yeah, like for example, these are you serious? Holy shit, I refreshed it and this is at 1. Okay, Warden Knight is now at 1. That's interesting. Wait. No, this has to be some kind of bundle, right? Really? This shit's at 1? Okay, interesting. Anyways, the cheapest rare SE right now, which personally, I think that your best bet right now is because the legendary SEs have moved up a bunch. The standards have moved up a lot. The uncommons have moved up a lot for SEs specifically. But what we haven't seen a lot of movement for, which we saw a couple days ago, but we haven't seen the past like day or two, is big movement in the rare SEs, which is going to be things like, I think the cheapest one is here, Mechanized is the cheapest one currently at 1. Paradox is 1, Tabula Rasa, Reclamator, Instant Replicator. These two here, Solar Grenade and Manipulation Ray. But and also there's a couple outliers here where you see Eye of Galley, which is now at like 3.5, and Reality Manipulator, and also the Pocket Dimensions. So Pocket Dimensions is honestly just a complete anomaly, just because for two reasons. As you can notice, the two day and night cards here, Eye of Galley, which has a day as well, and the two Pocket Dimensions are a lot more expensive than most of the other rares. Just again, it's day and night stuff, so to complete a set you need both. And then again, some people just like certain arts more, like, which is the reason why Reality Manipulator is one of the most expensive rare SEs, just because people just really like the art. Because again, currently, the game isn't released, so what people are going off of is art. And currently, I think Shroud is the most popular parallel at the moment. So a lot of their cards are slightly more expensive than the rest. But if I go on here, moving on to legendary SEs, you can see literally this one right here, Trade Secrets. You can see the price here. Compared to Pocket Dimension, it's literally a legendary SE is cheaper than Pocket Dimensions, which is honestly insane to me. And you also have the card backs here, which are looking around 5 to 6 ETH. And these were right when PD1 dropped. You were looking at these being somewhere between 1.5 to 3 ETH. So they've doubled to tripled in price since then. And you can see Solea is one of the most expensive legendary SEs at 6.9. And I'm just waiting for these to load here. But there is actually another thing. There's a special type of card called Perfect Loops. And these are denoted by this PL sign right here. And currently there's only 2 PL cards, which is Strength of Mars here. And there's an Eye of Galley as well, PL. And you can see the price is pretty expensive on this right now, but I would strongly recommend you avoid it. The reason being, here, I'll show you right here. People don't notice this. Just give it a moment to load. Yeah, people don't notice this, but then if you can see, the total is 1,000 on this. This is literally the same amount as an uncommon SE, like 1,000 of them, but currently there's only 26 owners. So if we look at this, you can see that there's still 970 of these held by the parallel team, meaning that these still need to be like fully released. Like only a few have been released so far, which just means that this price right here is artificial. Like once, you know, the other 900 of these are released, the price of this thing is just going to tank completely. It'll be probably more than uncommon SEs for sure, but you know, nowhere near what it is currently. And there's a similar situation with the Eye of Galilee SE as well. And that's one thing. And the other one I did want to mention is for PS15s, the standard versions, the rares and legendaries were released again in PD1. So those have most of their supply sent out. But for things like the commons and uncommons, for like Revitalizing Growth, Synchronity, Recon, for these cards, you can see here, there's 10k total, but there's only 56 owners. Because again, let's see, there's like 9,900 still remaining to be sent out. Because again, if you saw my first video, you saw that for PD1, there were no commons or uncommons standards that were released during that drop. So these were never like, the supply wasn't ever like filled out, but you can totally expect that to happen probably with PD2 or even PD3. Like you can see this just complete artificial raise in price. But I will say though as well, this change in price was also caused by the team just like an hour ago of me recording this, made a post on Twitter talking about how you would need that people who complete what we call para sets, which are essentially sets of parallel cards, may get some kind of drop or some kind of bonus sent to them for like completing sets, and those being like the PD1 set, the standards, which currently there's only rares and legendaries, so I'm not really sure how that one works. But there's the PD1 SE set, which somewhere around like 10, 8, like I think like 5 to 10 people have completed so far. There's the PS15 standards, which are all out, but exclude the priming and First Son of Mars because they're too hard to get, and which also could cause this big artificial price increase as people are just trying to finish those sets before the team sends out the reward for that. But you know, this price right here, that's like 2.45 ETH. Like once this supply is sent out, you can completely expect this to just tank, like so far down. So, you know, if you have one, like I would recommend selling it as soon as you could. But, you know, I mean, you could ride this wave because like just a bunch of people just don't realize it, I guess, honestly. You could just kind of just ride the wave with them. But, you know, just know that eventually, maybe not right now because things are still moving up, but eventually all the PS15 standards will, well, the ones that haven't been released, again, the commons and uncommons will tank in price, which you can see here from this graph for Neutron Bomb. Once the PD1 drop happened, you can see it was at like 0.9, 0.6, dropped all the way to like 0.2. And just now is it coming back up, as you can see for the legendaries, the PS15 legendaries, most of their supply is sent out already. So there's only 36 left for the Neutron Bomb standards. So yeah, like overall, again, I would, depending on your budget, you're probably going to want to, if you have like a low budget, you're looking at probably buying the floor SEs would be my recommendation. If you have a little bit more, look for the underpriced rare SEs if you can, because overall, like things, you know, just shift together. And something that people kind of really don't really talk about too much is the fact that with universal cards here, when you're building a deck in parallel, essentially there's 40 cards, and you can only have one parallel plus universals. And that means that essentially universals can be used by all 5 parallels. So you could, in some way, think about the number of universals, like their addition size, essentially being cut by 5. Again, that's only if they would be useful in every deck, again, which, doesn't exactly, there's no guarantee for that, again, because most card effects aren't out yet. But, that can affect the prices in the future for sure, once things really start coming out. And again, this is the Eye of Galley perfect loop. It's at 12, last sold at 7. Like, this thing is just going to tank whenever the rest are sent out. And you can see the Gaia's Call SE, the day and night. These were recently just pumped up a bunch. Just like 2 days ago, these were at like 2 or 4 ETH. And they're all the way to like 13 here. And again, the card backs, you can see these two, the special animated ones here. These two for this. These are from PD1. They're up a lot. These were, again, a friend of mine, Young. He bought his Warden card back for like something like only 1.5 ETH. I think that was like the bottom for it, honestly, and you can see them being crazy pumped up. These just happened like the past day or so. And again, you can see the other card backs. Many people consider the card backs underpriced, but that was when they were only like 2 to 3 ETH or 4. But some people still argue that the card backs are still underpriced, as there's only 100 of each of them. But really, you can just take that, your own ways, make your own judgment for that. Because these really kind of depend on how the next card backs are released, whether or not they're out of 100 or there's going to be more common ones. And again, you can see these PS15, this common, uncommon, like, okay, I'm actually kind of pissed now because let me find my recon. See this? Oh my god, this shit sold at 4.7. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I think this inflation in price is really just from the parallel team sending out the message where you need to complete the set for a prize of some sort. But again, like these purple ones from PS15, Synchronity from PS15, Archivist Prime, these things are going to tank eventually. Again, eventually. I couldn't tell you if they're going to tank right now. These could still move up for, however long. I'm pretty sure they're sending out the reward for completing the sets at the end of this month, something like that. So you could see these still moving up until then. Just kind of looking for my recon, because if you saw before, I did have a recon, but I had, for some god knows reason, it's the cheapest one, but I sold mine at like 0.4 just because I was expecting people to realize that it does not deserve its price at all. But I guess people are just clueless, so that's fine. I guess make use of that, honestly. Like, if you have one of these PS15s, I'd like get rid of it before the end of August is what I'm going to say, personally. But yeah, like, again, just to recap, the idea here is people seem to really like day and night cards. So if you can find one that you think is underpriced, then go for that. If you have the budget, probably go for these underpriced rare SEs as well, because they haven't moved up as much as the rest. If you can find a legendary SE that's like priced down, or if there's a slight dip in the market and you can get it for a decent price, that might be a good idea. If you believe in the value of card backs, then you can go for those. But again, those were just recently came up like ×2, ×3. And again, I would avoid the perfect loops, and I would avoid buying the PS15 standards, the ones that haven't been released, the commons and uncommons, until they drop in price. But yeah, I think that's it overall. And I mean, I guess if you're talking like for whales, really, like, this is really only exclusive to them. Like, the two big things that you can buy if you really have the money is one being a prime key, if it loads real quick, which are around probably like 20 to 22 ETH, I think, currently. Yeah, 22 is the current price. You can see the kind of the graph. Before PD1, these things were really literally selling for 0.49, 0.3, like these are insane. But you know, now they're up to like 20 ETH. And for some people, they're willing to take the risk here because at the end of this month, end of August, the Prime proposal will be released, which will really make clear the usage of Prime keys, which could really make or break them. You could see them just skyrocketing up to 30, or they might take a small dip. But either way, these have strong value in the market. And if you want like something that kind of just follows the general market of the project, you know, Prime keys are a good idea. But also the PS15 SEs are a big purchase you can make if you really believe in the project and its overall future, because you know, these have increased a lot recently, as you can see on this graph. You can see the recent sold prices here, and a lot of the other ones are just sold for crazy numbers. And the thing is, because of the low edition for these and the fact that most owners are trying to hold theirs for as long as possible, because I mean, most of us believe in the future of the game. Okay, this is a little too much, but you can see, yeah, like these things are like super illiquid because just the number of sellers is just really low because most people are trying to hold theirs. So you can see this just skyrocket up from literally 10, from 10 up to what, 17, I think it is here, 17 up to 23 up to 29. Like you can just see these huge jumps in numbers. So you know, if you find like a floor PS15 SE and you think that you can kind of capitalize on the illiquidity of the card, you know, you can take that risk. And some people just believe that these will just keep going up as long as the project itself garners a wider audience and is successful as time goes on. And last thing would really just be, why am I looking at Masterpiece? Let me see. Let me find. Let me find a good example here. Actually, I can just go here. Where is my page? So there's also a certain item called masterpieces, which many of you already know about, but essentially they're a one of one of each card in the game. And as more cards come out, there will be more masterpieces for each. But what they do is they give you 1% of all sales for that card, both the normal and SE version. And that 1% comes out of the overall 10% royalty that Parallel takes, in which 5% is for further development and then 5% is sent back into the community for future tournaments, prizes, things like that. And that 1% is in that 10%. But again, it's 1% of the total sale, not 1% of 10%. But what I wanted to show is the fact that masterpieces have a pretty crazy history. I just thought I'd be interesting to kind of bring up. During PS15, during the first sale, masterpieces sold for dirt cheap. Because honestly, there's only 250 people during the pre-sale. If I can pull them up here. Here we go. You can see the Recon sold for 5.7. These are all auctions, by the way. 5.7. These were sold later. I'd say overall the current price of a masterpiece is anywhere between like 80 to 120 ETH overall, probably. But again, you can see some of these 4.2, and that currently has an offer for like, what is that, like 30 ETH. Right here, 2.2, 3, or well, these. Okay, honestly, this isn't even a PS15. This person's just stupid, honestly, whoever sold this. But you can see like auction, was only at 3, like because there's so few people in the project, like nobody really knew like the real potential for these masterpieces. You can see just these super cheap, like 1.8 for this card, like it's insane. But now most masterpieces are again 80 to 120 ETH, and you're never going to be able to find prices like these again unless somebody's just stupid enough to put it up for that. But yeah, overall, that's mostly it. Other than just if I can just pull up catalyst drives, but again, this is like for like ultra whales. I don't even know if it's really worth even talking about, but catalyst drives. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Oh, but again, I should note that for both prime keys and catalyst drives, not all of them have been sent out yet. So if you see here on catalyst drive, the total, there's still 32 left out of the 150 for catalyst drives, and I think there's around like 400 left for prime keys. So in the next drop here on PD2, there's a chance you can still open up one of these. But again, it's going to be way less than it was during the first drop, and you can just see the price of catalyst drives. Just crazy. Just recently it's moved up to about 100 ETH floor here. So yeah, but overall that's kind of it. If there's anything else like market wise anyone wants to know about, just probably just put in the comments, or you can DM me on Discord, when you can find me in the parallel Discord. It won't be hard. But yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next videos I put out here. Thanks.